Hi, everyone. My name is Raymond Arturo Perez. I am going live from Los Angeles, California. Hi to everyone out there. I'm excited to be the host of this year's series of Cafecitos and film chats. We had one yesterday, and today I'm really excited to get things started. Today, we're honored to have Marc Reign with us, a dynamic, full time artist from Spanish Harlem with proud Puerto Rican roots. Marc made a bold transition from engineering to the arts, earning a theater degree and winning Best Actor in a Comedy. He's appeared on hit shows like Law and Order and has built a diverse career acting, directing, producing, and creating powerful stories. Marc's passion for storytelling and his relentless drive make him a true force in the creative community. I'm going to go ahead and get Marc on the live so we can get the cafecito started.
Yo, yo,
Hey, how's it going?
what's up, brother?
I have not had the pleasure of meeting you in person, but super excited to get to talk with you today.
Same, same. Thank you for having me on this. I'm really excited to connect, and be a part of this, the youth scene movement.
Yes, 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 yes. I just got finished watching Finding Sam, Playing Sam, excuse me.
Thanks, Sam. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
beautiful cast, great work, super awesome. Very
Thank you.
got me at the heart and kept me, chuckling, laughing throughout. It was very, very nice.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching for sure. That was really proud of that project. So thank you.
So, for those who are watching and haven't seen Mark's bio, the one of the things that I wanted to start off the chat with is first off, kudos on an engineering degree. What
Thank you.
what was the impetus, the thing that kind of said, but art is my calling? What made you do the jump?
It's gonna sound a little corny or taggy or something, but it just is what it is. And there was like a spiritual guidance of some kind because honestly, acting wasn't on my radar as a kid. Like it wasn't something I grew up wanting to do. It happened actually while I was in college. I got my associates in mechanical engineering. My dad's an engineer. I was really good at math. Now in hindsight, it was coming from a creative place because I wanted to like design cars.
Mm.
So I needed to like understand, and that was the path to that. Um, and yeah, so I was going to school, college I was pursuing my bachelor then for mechanical engineering. And I'll never forget the feeling. I was sitting, it was the first day of class. I had a full schedule of just mechanical engineering classes, thermodynamics, calculus 2, physics calculus, all of it. And the professor, he wrote the longest math problem I've ever seen. Because it was calculus 2. And, it wasn't that I couldn't solve that problem. I think it just kind of hit me where it was like, is this it though? Like, is this the thing that I'm going to be doing forever? Does this feed my soul kind of thing? And I just had this little voice that was like, get up right now. There's a theater department. Like, go. Literally. And it just was like bugging me. And I was like, and I sat in the front of the class, so I just put my binder in my bag and the professor was like, where you going? And I was like, I gotta go. And I kind of took that leap of faith without talking to anybody about it. Like I just literally got up and went. I walked to the theater department. I walked to the first office that I saw. I spoke to, the guy in the office who ended up being my mentor in college. But I told him my story. He was like, "Man, it sounds great, but you're a day late because the deadline to switch your major was yesterday."
Mm.
So I was like, "Dang it." But I don't know. He saw something and was like, all right, let me get your stuff, see what I can do. 15 minutes later, he comes back into the office. He's like, you're now an acting major, and you're late for your first class acting 101. and I'll just never forget. I'm the kind of person that I throw my whole spirit, my life force into anything that I, decide on doing. And that was literally, long story short, how it happened. And I got home and my parents was like, "How's your first day of school?" And I was like, "Well, I kind of did a thing." And they're like, "What'd you do?" And I was like, "Yeah, I switched my major." And thank God I was blessed with two very supportive parents. Especially coming from Puerto Rican household, Latino demographic. They don't. It's always be a lawyer, be a doctor, be an accountant. Be something solid, something stable, and they supported me blindly at first. Also,
That's amazing. And I know over the past few years you've had multiple hats, both in front of and behind the camera. But can you maybe talk about a little bit about um, how you felt getting in front of the camera or on stage for the first time, and how that affirmed your choice to switch into the arts?
I think that was the big thing, right? Because my parents, they supported, but I could always feel that they was like hesitant. They were hesitant to, like, they didn't understand it yet. And my first semester, I ended up doing three school productions that one semester, which technically wasn't allowed for like a freshman theater major. And but I was, like I said, I threw my entire being at it. And the moment really came when my parents came to see this short play that I was in, and it was a part of a short play festival that's happening in the college. And I was working with one of the, I want to say, more seasoned actresses. She was like a senior in the theater department. Everybody knew her, and she was great. And so it was like this senior and this like freshman theater major. And it kind of was like word getting around, like, "Oh, you got to see this guy, like, this new kid." It was a drama piece. It was a relationship piece, and we killed it. And I think the moment for me was seeing all these people just crowding this stage, the audience, to see this performance. And I think moving the people, that was the magic for me that I witnessed, where it was like, "Oh snap, like I moved like these people with a performance." There was some like crying because they related to the relationship stuff that was happening. This thing can be healing, this thing can be inspiring. And I think that was the moment where I was like, that's the magic that I think I could be a part of for the rest of my life, no matter
Right.
what. Yeah.
Yeah. And like I mentioned, you've also now been behind the camera as well.
Yeah.
Particularly, I noticed that you've even shot some films as a cinematographer.
Yep.
How'd you branch out into directing, but then even as far as cinematography, which I think is a little bit less common for actors?
Yeah. You know, I was in college. It was my last semester as a theater major before I graduated. My mentor was like, "Mark, you're ready to perform. You're ready to audition in the real world." Like, normally I don't tell my students to do that, but you can go and do it. Long story short, I went, I auditioned for this industrial for the army. And it paid decent. It paid Cesar, yo, what's up, everybody that's watching? Thank you. um I I did this job. It paid me, a couple thousands of dollars. And I'm always like thinking ahead. I think that's the mechanical engineer in me, where the critical thinking, the math problem is still filmmaking, storytelling is still a math problem to me.
Mhm, mhm.
Right? And filmmakers will tell you, like, filmmaking is just problem solving. And I was like, it's expensive to chase this dream, headshots, acting reels, audition tapes. And at the time, it was like, well, when you want to do audition tapes, if you don't have your own equipment, you got to pay somebody to shoot it and edit it for you. And I was just looking out how to cut the middleman out, It was like, how do I figure this out myself? You know what I mean? So I invested that money. I bought a camera. I bought a lens. I started like looking into this. I call it YouTube University. I was just reading everything that I could read about the camera, the lenses, the light, and all of a sudden I just started shooting. I started out with shooting headshots. I shot everybody in the theater department.
Wow.
With like what happens in the sunlight, in the shade, with the bounce, with the flash, like all of it is different. And trial and error, a lot of trial and error. I have a lot of talented friends who do music, and so it was like, yo, Mark, yes, you got the camera. Like, let's shoot a music video. And man, I just say yes. I'm like, let's go, dale, and practice, and then it just shooting this person's music video to then shooting these people's wedding video to then shooting like a promo to then shooting helping someone shoot their short film, and one thing like led to the other, and the next thing I knew was like 10 years of just shooting, editing, and some people only knew me as an editor. I've edited for like Latino magazine. I've edited for like certain big projects, and some people only knew me as a photographer. So it was like all happening at once, all happening at once.
That's
So that was
awesome.
kind of a transition.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you hit on a bunch of things that we often talk about in these film chats and the cafecitos, which is like one, you taking the initiative, doing it out of necessity,
Hmm.
building community, using YouTube as a resource, and trial and error, just continuing to do the work, and getting better and better over time,
Definitely.
which is really, really dope. One of the things that I saw coming up is, if it's not already released, you were part of a film that was released this year and cinematographer for that as well, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken. Can you tell us a little bit about that project and how it came together?
Yeah, Mirror Life. That just had a screening actually yesterday in Brooklyn. There's another screening happening in a horror festival in Delaware next weekend. And man, what a project. There's so much I could say because we had worked on my brother Kazi. He was relentless with that film. It's kind of zombies, but that's why it says modern zombies on the poster. It's if you Google right now mirror life, it's an actual science that scientists warn against. Because what it is, it's a mirroring of our DNA that scientists aren't sure of how it can affect human beings. And so we kind of spun it into like a zombie kind of situation. But when we had did this, it wasn't mirror life wasn't like a topic, we were just creating and just imagining, and it's just kind of interesting. And so in this film, the portion of the film that I shot is found footage style. I play a journalist in this film, and I'm following, the one of the leads, the actress in it. She's trying to find her cousin, and so whenever it comes to us, I'm acting and I'm also shooting, like
Okay.
at the same time, which
That's
is
dope.
kind of crazy. But I'm doing all the rack focusing. I'm doing right. I had hair at that time actually. So you've seen the trailer in that film when you see me because I'm pretty much behind the camera in the film, but you do see me at a few moments. And so it was kind of I always say this, you never know what life is preparing you for, and I was shooting all this stuff out of necessity. And then I fell in love with these things, creating the frame and just understanding that composition, you know. And this film, I had to pretty much do all of it at the same time. So it was pretty challenging, but I didn't feel it as such because I was just having fun and I just loved it. I was in the moment as the actor, and but also like looking at the shot and figuring out, it was like literally juggling, at once.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. It sounds like you literally, people say, like spoken into existence. Like you had all these multiple hats and you're seeing it converge in this one
Yeah.
project. It's really dope. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Definitely be on the lookout for those watching. I
Definitely.
also wanted to ask, you were on Law and Order,
Yeah.
SVU and organized crime,
Yeah.
and I wanted to, how did the experience go? How did
Oh
that? How
man.
was the yeah? How was the whole journey?
I want to say just this is a good segue because what I like to tell a lot of my actor friends, especially, is like learn the other side, right? Learn what it's like to be on the other side of the camera because what it gives you is a whole different like level of awareness. Because what can be intimidating at times, being on a set like Law and Order with like these TV icon, iconic actors, is that it can get overwhelming because you're like you don't have that level of awareness. You're like, oh snap, that's a big camera, that's a huge lens, and these big lights, and all the audio, and like it's a lot happening at once. There's an overload happening, and so hey Dominic, what's good, brother? Um, it there's a lot happening, and if you it can overwhelm the actor, right? And then if an actor isn't comfortable and they're not in their breath work, it can come off unnatural in the scene, right? And you may not perform as well. And so being on that set with Law and Order, my journey up until that point, it was like, this is yeah. Like I had to like find a moment. There was a moment I was nervous in the beginning, like literally right in the beginning, and then I had to take a breath, and I was like go into that technique of like, all right, well, let's bring it down, let's get into the pocket, right? And it was like, but you know this, like you know that camera, you know that lens, like you know what the frame is, you know what you need to do. You've done the work with the character, the scene, and the lines. It's just time to do it. And man, it was such a great time, because Christopher Maloney, he comes in and these guys are huge and on set they almost command the set, and we do the scene and he makes a joke when they call, like right before they call cut, he makes a joke. So everybody laughs, right? I was like wearing green and he's like, yeah, that green looks good on you, right? Mind you, I'm in prison. So everybody laughs and it kind of opened it up for me because I was like, oh, okay, so that's what we're doing. Cool. Well, I like to tell jokes. I like to have fun too. So then it was my turn. So I waited and I waited and I was like, okay, this is the last shot. Now I'm gonna mess with him. So I did it back to him right before they called cut. We're waiting for the scene. We finished the scene and then I had like complimented on his tie, I think it was, or something like that. Everybody bust out laughing. And it was just a big level of respect from Christopher Maloney, because even in that scene, that was organized crime. In that scene, in between the takes, when they were switching setups, because they had
Right.
already gotten this, so they were going to switch the other side, yada yada. Um, he sat with me to have a conversation, like, what do you think about this line, and what's your thought? And I was able to now talk to him about what my approach was to this line, and he didn't see it that way, and he was like, "Oh, I like that." you know, do that, and I'll never forget what he told me. Because I was like, yeah, I was thinking about it, but I wasn't sure if it was gonna work. He goes, give yourself the permission, fuck up. He was like, do it, give yourself the permission. If it works up, listen, we'll do what it can take. He's like, it's not a big deal, Mark. You can go for it. So then we went, I did it, and I killed it. And then when the scene cut, he was a little further away, and he just looked, and he was like, I see you. And I was like, yeah. So it was great,
Awesome.
because then a couple days later we went to go shoot, and that was SVU that we were shooting, with Mariska, and that was it was adding a whole nother personality now, and she was like in my face. But by that point, I was already comfortable. Chris already knew me. He was like, "Hey, what's up? It's good to see you," and that um confirmation again came from Mariska this time, because then I was performing and I didn't ask her or anything. She just walked up to me. She was like, "Great fucking job with that." She was
I
like, "I
love
love
that.
the way you did that." She was like, "Okay, like I see you," kind of thing. Okay. Um, great time, great time on set for sure. The director, the writer came up to me, and we had a great conversation. It was a very positive experience for sure.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing.
Big Red.
I yeah, congratulations too. I see that we're running out of time, so I kind of want to end the conversation with a question I ask a lot of the people that I get the chance to meet through CINE Youth Fest, and that's there are a bunch of emerging creatives, some
Yeah.
that have already put years into their work, and some who are just starting. What advice do you have for young Latinos stepping into film and television and stage as a fellow artist?
Oh man, you know, I think what's in right now is to make sure you're telling your story. And do it, don't wait, don't I think that's one of the biggest things right now, where it's like we as artists sometimes we need things to be perfectly aligned. The planets need to align for this thing to happen. And I'm speaking to myself here also, you know, where we won't do something unless there's this component of it ready, or this certain location, or this maybe not, can't, we don't have access to the actor that we want to do it with. Just start. I have friends on all kinds of levels, and I've witnessed people, start in the cardboard house, if you will, as an analogy, and now they're in the gates. They have the power, and because they took the time to climb the ladder, they took the time to put the brick by brick. And I've seen a short film turn into a feature film with the actors that they intended to with, and it took a bit. It may take a year, it may take 3 years, five, but it only needs to happen once. So just lay down the brick.
Love that. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with
Of
me. It's been a
course.
pleasure. I
This
can't
was
wait to see
great.
more of your work. And for those watching, thank you so much for joining us. Just a reminder that we'll be having this series of cafecitos and film chats throughout the next few days. Tomorrow at 7 p.m.
Thank
Pacific
you.
Standard Time, or rather 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 4 p.m. Pacific. We'll be chatting about the art of dubbing. So definitely tune in. If you
Man.
miss anything, you can go to cineyouthfest.org. And once again, thank you, Mark, and have a good evening, everyone.
Tyler, Raymond, thank you, everybody. Thank you. CINE Use Fast. You already know, man. Exciting.
Bye.
Peace.